Hello, I'm W.P. Suazo, and I want to talk to you about taxes and government spending with entitlement. Now, I have a video already on YouTube with this same graph that uses not entitlement, but a block grant. I don't want to start with the graph pre-drawn. I want to draw the graph right in front of you to show you that I don't like to use the word easy, but drawing the graph is possible. So, this is public money. Horizontally, we have GDP. So we have GDP going along the bottom, and this is public money. Now, I will draw for you three tax rates. This is my highest tax rate with my inflationary or highest GDP. Highest GDP with middle tax rate. This here is my highest tax rate with normal or full GDP. This is my lowest tax rate with my highest GDP, tax rate with full GDP, middle tax rate with middle GDP, and this is my highest tax rate with lowest GDP. Now, that's not something to be concerned about. So, tax rates are 16%, 20%, and 25%. GDP, 1,000 is full or normal GDP. 1,000 is full or normal GDP. Full GDP is normal. 1,250 and 800. I will have you note that these three GDPs and these three tax rates are connected by the same magnitude, meaning times 1 1/4. 800 times 1 1/4 is 1,000. 1,000 times 1 1/4 is 1,250. 16 times 1 1/4 is 20%, and 20% to 25% is found by multiplying 20% by 1 1/4. Doing the graph this way saves it from turning into a subway map. It could become crazy. It could turn into a plate of spaghetti. So using this common factor keeps it from getting out of control. Now watch this. 1,000. 16% of 1,000 is 160. 16% of 1,000 is 160. 20% of 1,000 is 200. 1,000. 25% of 1,000 is 250. All right, here, 16% of 800, or I just say in my brain, 80% of 160 is 128. And up here, this is saying what? This is saying 25% of 1,250. 25% of 1,250 is 312 and a half, 312.5. So this is public money. Public money. Okay. Now, to keep the graph from getting too cluttered, the entitlements will be balanced here. So, full GDP, middle tax rate. At that point, the entitlements should equal the tax revenue. Or, for me to say entitlement is a bit of a stretch. What it is, it's government spending, including entitlements. So, my goal here is to have at normal GDP, to have the public budget balance, meaning tax revenues equal government spending. I'm going to use this point right here. So this point right here says when GDP is 800, government spending, including entitlements, will be 250. Now, if you look at this, this is saying for every 200 across, we change our height by 50. So that means for every 100, we change by 25. So here, this is a difference of 200, so that would be 50, and half of 50 would be 12 and a half. So this would get us a point here at 137 and a half. So, by using the points already available, I only have to put in one new point. Okay, so here's our graph. Our graph is set up and ready to go. So let's have a look. Starting at normal, this graph is going to seem a bit redundant. So, I'll say this to you. Tax percent will begin with the median one, or the middle one, of 20% times a full GDP. So, median taxes times median or full or normal GDP gives us tax revenues of 200 minus government spending of the same, which gives a budget result that is balanced. We have a balanced budget. Now, the whole thrust or reason of this exercise is to be able to take that budget result and dissect it. So we take the budget result and we dissect it. I'm only going to write the same thing again. I just have to better budget my space. So, tax percent, 20%. GDP, 1,000. Tax revenues, 200. Government spending, also 200. Our budget result. What about our budget? Our budget is going to be, in balance. Our budget's going to be balanced. There we go. Where does this balance come from? Well, first we have a structural component. Structural, the whole notion of structural is structural assumes normal or full. Again, structural assumes normal or full. So, T full minus G full. So, T full, what tax percent are we using? 20. So 20% is many things. 20% is many things, but over full it is 200. I'll just rewrite this again. Better budgeting in my space. T full minus G full. 200. G is many things, but above full, G is also 200. So structurally, we are balanced. Nothing positive, nothing negative, no surplus, no deficit. Cyclical asks the opposite of structural. Cyclical asks, how far from normal are we? Cyclical asks, how far from normal are we? So, it is T minus T full. Our tax revenues are how far from normal. And our government spending, since it's spending, has to be done the opposite. So that is G full minus G. And we combine these two components. So we're collecting 200. We were expecting to collect 200. We were expecting to spend 200, and we are spending 200. So there's no overspending. So, like I said, in the beginning, this is going to seem redundant. It's 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. Okay, fine. Let's say the economy goes into recession. If the economy goes into recession, it falls to 800. To stimulate the economy, let's say the government changes tax rates, but one thing at a time, says the wise man. Let's keep the tax rates at 20%. So now we have a quarter. Now we have not a quarter. We have a fifth of 800, which is 160. If you have a math moment, as I'm having, you just use a graph. Here's 20%. Here's 800. Implicates 160. So 160, tax revenue. Spending. What is the spending? Well, the spending, G at GDP 800, G at 800 GDP, G at GDP 800 is 250. So I'm going to say both of those again. What are the tax revenues? Well, tax percent is still 20% over 800. So here's 20%, here's 800, there's 160. Government spending. Government spending is this negatively sloped line above GDP 800. So here's GDP, GDP 800. That negative slope line implicates 250. So we have a deficit of 90. We have a deficit of 90. Whom do we blame for this deficit of 90? Do we blame the leadership or the economy? Do we blame our leaders or do we blame our economy? Let's take a look. Structural. Did we change the tax percent? No, we did not. Did we change the slope or position of the G line? No, we did not. So structural remains the same. It remains intact. However, all the changes are on the cyclical side. We're in a downward cycle. So T full is still 100. G full is still 200. Excuse me. T full is still 200. G full is still 200. Now let's plug in the numbers. Once you have this set up correctly, all you have to do is plug in the numbers. So what's T? T is 160. What's G? G is 250. So our tax collections are lagging by 40. Our spending is overspending by 50. So negative 50 and negative 40 combine to the negative 90. So this deficit of negative 90 is not a political manifestation. It's an economic one. The economy is causing it. So let's say that the leaders decide to cut taxes to stimulate the economy. So now we have a tax rate of 16%. And maybe they're getting ready to say any deficits we could just blame on the economy. So if we run a deficit, we could just simply say it's the economy's fault, not ours. Not true with this model. In this model, you can dissect blame. You can assign blame. So here we are. 16 times 800 is 128. So we're only taking in 128. We're still spending 250. And now we have a whopping deficit of what? We have a whopping deficit of this difference. So the difference between 128 and 200 is going to be 72 plus 50. So we have 72 plus 50 in deficit, which is negative 122. Negative 122. Or we look at it this way. 2, 130. Yes, here we are. Okay. Did we change the tax policy? Yes, we did. So we have to change our structural analysis. Okay. Government spending over full is 200. However, what is 16% over full? 16% over full, 16% over full is right here, 160. So now we fill in 160. So even before we look at the economy, this government is running a deficit of 40. In normal times, this government would be running a deficit of 40. So already we begin with a deficit. And then we take these full numbers and we plug them in here. Hey, here's T full right here. So T full is 160. Plug that in. And G full is still 200, so we leave that plugged in. What is our current T? Our current T is 128. So our tax collections are lagging by negative 32, which is the difference between 128 minus 160. Current G right here is 250. So this latter component of this cyclical part hasn't changed. So look what we have here. Negative 50, negative 32 is negative 82. Negative 82 plus negative 40 is 122. So of this deficit of 122, how much of it comes from our political leadership? 40 of 122. A little less than a third. A little bit more than a third. A little bit more than 2/3, excuse me. 68% comes from the economic times, or comes from the economy. So the beauty of this model, it allows us to assign blame. Usually when the economy's sour, those in control could say, well, everything's bad because the economy's bad. And when things are good, they say, well, they don't say everything's good because the economy's good. When things are good, leaders say things are good because of our leadership. With this model, you could say this government has a deficit of 122. A third of it comes from political decisions, but the other 2/3 come from the economy. So this is the same as my other video. The only difference being this negative slope government spending line that is based on entitlements. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.